I knew something was off when our invoice from Tri-Globe Freight showed up with a $14,382 line item labeled expedited handling. Recurring. Keyword, recurring. It had been there for months, maybe years. Nobody looked twice, just another line in the corporate landfall of logistics charges. But I looked. Because I didn't have a social life, just color-coded spreadsheets and an ulcer that flared every time Todd called something ballpark numbers. So I started digging. Night after night, outside my job description, squinting at vendor contracts and cross-checking rates while my microwave burrito slowly calcified into a salt brick. And there it was, a buried clause in our freight agreement that basically meant we'd been double billed for services Tri-Globe hadn't even rendered since 2021. Almost $17,000 flushed into the ether like confetti at a CFO birthday party. I built a cost savings breakdown so simple even our VP of procurement could understand it, which is saying something, since he once asked if the cloud needed to be refilled. I attached the documentation, spreadsheets, vendor contract scans, the original scope change notice from 2 years ago, even a screenshot of the internal Slack thread where someone asked what recurring expedited meant and got no answer. Then I sent the email to Todd. BCC'd myself too, out of habit, not paranoia. The subject line was, hopeful cost-saving opportunity, vendor optimization proposal. The kind of thing that should earn you a bonus, or at least a better seat at the quarterly team lunch than next to Jared, who chews like a cow eating drywall. Anyway, this is where I pause the story and say something a little embarrassing. See, 97% of the people who listen to stories like this don't subscribe. I know, I get it. But if you're here, and you're even halfway invested in seeing what Todd does next with my work, help me hit my first ever 10,000 subscribers. It's free, takes 2 seconds, and it tells the algorithm that maybe, just maybe, the woman digging through freight invoices alone at 2 a.m. deserves a little airtime. Back to Todd. He replied 3 hours later with the corporate equivalent of a pat on the head. Thanks, great initiative, I'll take it from here. No CC. No forward. Just that single sanitized sentence, like he was tossing a gum wrapper in the trash. But in my head, I was already imagining the email I'd get next week from leadership, maybe even from Carol in finance, thanking me for the find. Maybe Todd would give me a shout out in the Monday Sync Cup. Maybe I'd finally get tapped for the senior analyst role that had been pending headcount approval since Obama was president. That naive optimism tasted sweet, for about 4 days. Then came the all-hands meeting. Todd, smiling like a man who just farted in a crowded elevator and knew no one would say a word. And me, seated quietly near the back with the PowerPoint already queued up on my screen. The title slide, Optimizing Vendor Costs Through Strategic Freight Review, presented by Todd Ramsey. And that was the exact moment I realized my name was about to disappear, and nobody was going to notice but me. Todd clicked to the next slide like he was Steve Jobs reintroducing the wheel. We've identified a redundancy in our third-party freight billing, he said slowly, in front of the screen like a TED Talk reject. By reevaluating our contract with Tri-Globe, we stand to cut annual expenses by nearly 19.7%. My stomach dropped. Then I saw it, my spreadsheet, color-coded tabs and all, flashing on the screen with a new header plastered on top in Comic Sans, of all things, Todd's Freight Optimization Initiative. Not even a cursory crop job. Just copy-paste. A good old-fashioned corporate heist. No mention of me. Not even a subtle shout-out to the team. Just Todd grinning like a possum that crawled into the server room and found a heat lamp. I looked around the room, heads nodding, pens scribbling. Carol from finance leaned over to whisper something to our director, probably, wow, Todd's a genius, or let's make this guy a VP before someone poaches him. And I just sat there, frozen in my stupid ergonomic chair, gripping my coffee like it might keep me from screaming. It wasn't just that he took it. It was how he took it, like it had always been his. Like I never spent 2 weeks bleeding over vendor audits while he was off networking at a golf retreat. Like I didn't warn him last quarter that Tri-Globe's invoice language was shady. One of the interns, Derek, I think, turned to me after the meeting and said, "Pretty sick stuff, huh? Todd's on another level." Yeah. Another level of hell, maybe. After the clapping died down, Todd made some comment about synergy through strategic oversight and invited questions. Nobody had any. They were too busy basking in the glow of someone else's work, my work. He even wrapped the presentation with a tone-deaf little joke. Sometimes the best solutions are hiding in plain sight. You just have to be willing to dig through the dirt. Then he winked. Winked. I don't even remember walking back to my desk. I just remember sitting there, staring at the blinking cursor on my screen like it owed me answers. The email, still in my outbox. Time-stamped. Documented. But in that moment, it didn't matter. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't oversensitive. I was disposable. Just the invisible gear Todd needed to spin once so he could launch himself to the next rung. That's when it hit me. This wasn't some oversight. This wasn't a slip of the tongue in a high-pressure meeting. This was premeditated. And I'd just become the body he stepped over to get to the top. It was a Thursday, just after lunch, right when the office is quiet enough to hear your own career die. I got a calendar invite from HR, quick sync, conference RMB. No subject. No context. Just that passive-aggressive tone HR adopts when they're about to tell you your badge no longer works. I walked in, still holding my coffee, and there they were, Todd in his salmon-colored power casual button-up and Dana from HR, smiling like someone rehearsing for a hostage negotiation. "Thanks for joining us," Dana said, gesturing to the chair like it was a throne and not a folding death sentence. Todd didn't meet my eyes. His laptop was open, a legal folder in front of him. We wanted to have a quick chat about some departmental shifts. He started using that oily voice he saves for networking events and performance reviews. Dana jumped in. As part of our Q3 strategic refocus, we've evaluated roles and responsibilities across the org. Unfortunately, we've determined that your position is no longer aligned with the department's evolving priorities. I blinked. Aligned? Todd cleared his throat. You've been incredibly diligent, of course. Your attention to detail has been truly appreciated. He said it like he was tossing a bone to a dog he just put down. But we're moving in a different direction. Then he slid the folder across the table like it was a party favor. Inside, a termination letter, severance package, a vague NDA, and a 1-month salary check that felt more like hush money than compensation. I looked up at him, finally. His face was blank, but his eyes said it all. Don't make this messy. He was already halfway out the door mentally, probably picturing himself in a corner office with glass walls and a standing desk. I stared at the papers. At my name, spelled correctly, for once. At the cold finality of it. I couldn't even feel the full punch of it yet. Just numb static, like I was watching someone else's career implode in 1080p. But then I remembered the email. The original email. BCC to my personal Gmail. Time-stamped. Subject line. Attachments. All of it, the spreadsheet, the audit, the Tri-Globe contract notes, the PDF with my damn initials on the footer. It was all still sitting there in my inbox like a loaded gun I'd forgotten I owned. I looked at Todd, and smiled. Actually smiled. He blinked, confused. I signed the termination letter with a pen they provided, stood up, and thanked them both like a southern housewife at a funeral, polite, but hollow enough to rattle. And as I walked out of conference room B, folder in hand, that numb fog in my chest began to burn off. What replaced it? Fuel. That night. I didn't cry, didn't rage, Didn't pour myself a pity whiskey and throw on some breakup ballads like I'd done when my last boyfriend ghosted me after a weekend at his mom's. No, this wasn't heartbreak. This was arithmetic. This was chess. And I was done being a pawn. I powered up my ancient personal laptop, screen cracked at the corner from a clumsy knee bump during lockdown, still proudly displaying a coffee ring ghost on the casing. Logged into Gmail. Typed Todd proposal into the search bar. There it was, August 17th, 8:42 a.m. Subject, cost-saving opportunity, vendor optimization proposal. Attachments, vendor audit 2021.xlsx, Tri-Globe contract review.pdf, freight cost breakdown.pptx. I opened it like a time capsule, one sent from a version of me that still believed hard work had its own gravity. There were my notes, clean and obsessive. There were the highlighted clauses in the freight contract, the historical overcharge pattern I charted out month by month. I even attached a mock pitch deck with bullet points Todd later read verbatim in that meeting. I felt nauseous all over again, this time not from betrayal, from the sheer weight of evidence I was now holding. Then I remembered Slack. I scrolled back through the company archive I'd saved before they revoked my access. Thank you, reflexive paranoia. Found the thread in #OpsTalk from 3 days before Todd's presentation where I mentioned the recurring billing anomaly. A handful of emoji reacts, Todd replying, interesting, we should dig into that. No follow-up, no credit. Screenshotted it. All of it. I renamed the files with the precision of a crime scene archivist. 01_original_proposal_email.pdf 02/slack_thread_backdate_proof.png 03_attachments_cost_analysis.sweetzip 04_termination_letter_sign.pdf. Then I backed them up to my Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, external USB. Hell, I even uploaded them to a dummy Twitter draft in case everything else failed. Redundancy wasn't paranoia anymore. Protocol. And as I sat there in the blue glow of my laptop, something shifted. The despair that had been hounding me like a junkyard dog all day curled up and died. This wasn't just a file. It was a fuse. I didn't know when I'd light it. Not yet. But I would. Not out of revenge. I wasn't interested in petty flame wars or office gossip. Todd's punishment wasn't going to be a rumor whispered in break rooms, it was going to be documented, measured, and visible. 'Cause justice, when done right, doesn't scream. It records. The next morning I woke up before my alarm. No groggy stumble to the coffee machine, no morning doom scroll. Just sat up in bed with the clarity of someone who's finally stopped waiting to be rescued and started looking for matches. I wasn't going to waste my evidence on HR. HR existed to keep the company out of lawsuits, not to protect employees. It already helped Todd roll me out like expired printer paper. But the CFO, now that was a different animal. The man who watched the numbers bleed. Who hated inefficiency more than bad press. I'd never spoken to him directly, but I knew his name, Marcus Bell. The one executive who didn't show up in cocktail hour selfies on Slack. The kind of guy who read boardroom PNLS the way monks read scripture. So I Googled him. Found a podcast episode he did last year called Transparent Culture in Modern Ops. One of those dull-sounding corporate things where executives pretend they're warm-blooded. I almost skipped it. But 18 minutes in, during a ramble about ethical oversight, he dropped this gem. If someone from any level of the org sees something broken, I want to know. Doesn't matter if you're the janitor or a junior analyst. If you've got the facts, bring them. My door doesn't lock. I replayed that part 3 times. Doesn't matter if you're the janitor or a junior analyst. Well, Marcus, let me show you what the junior analyst found before she was dumped like last quarter's toner cartridge. A few more clicks and there it was, his work email, buried in the contact credits of a regional finance conference where he'd given a talk on transparency. Not his assistant. His first name last name at company domain. Bless those old event PDFs that no one ever scrubs. I opened a new draft. Typed the subject line slowly, deliberately, regarding the recent vendor optimization proposal. Then the body. Hello Mr. Bell, I understand you likely don't know my name. I was recently let go as a mid-level analyst during a departmental restructure. However, before that happened, I submitted a detailed cost-saving proposal to my manager regarding Tri-Globe freight billing redundancies. That proposal was later presented to leadership without attribution, by the same manager who signed off on my termination. I've attached timestamped documentation, the original email, Slack discussions, and relevant files, that may help clarify the timeline. I trust you value accuracy and transparency. Please review the materials and let me know if further clarification is needed. Best, my name. I attached the files. All of them. Compressed and clean. I even added a table of contents in a separate doc, because unlike Todd, I understood the value of organization. And then I didn't hit send. I waited. Because this wasn't about impulse. This was a slow burn. And I wanted the temperature just right. Let Todd get comfortable in his stolen spotlight. Let him pitch my initiative to the board. Let him think the hard part was over and the corner office was a handshake away. I saved the email as a draft, closed my laptop, and took a walk around the block. Every matchstick now carefully aligned. All I needed was the right moment to strike. 3 days passed. I didn't touch the draft. Didn't reread it. Didn't tweak a comma. It just sat there in my Gmail like a pressure-sensitive tripwire, perfectly calibrated. But I did text Rachel, my old cube neighbor and the only person in that fluorescent purgatory who ever told me when I had spinach in my teeth. Hey, I wrote. You heard anything about Todd lately? She replied within minutes, which told me everything I needed to know. You didn't hear? He's pitching to the board next week. Same cost-saving stuff he presented in the team meeting. Rumor is he's gunning for VP of Ops. VP of Operations. Man who once asked me if Net 30 was a software. I stared at the screen for a full minute. Then I smiled, but not with my mouth. It was deeper than that. Something in my chest clicked into place like a key turning. Todd wasn't just coasting on my work anymore. He was building a throne out of it. Good. I opened my laptop, navigated to the draft, and took one last look. No edits. No fluff. No threats. Just cold, clean facts. Kind of thing someone like Marcus Bell would actually respect. The kind of thing that made deniability impossible. I hovered over the button. Clicked send. The Gmail whoosh was so quiet it was almost smug. Then, nothing. No automatic out of office. No bounce back. No immediate legal reply or, thanks for your concern. Just blank space and inbox silence. Which was fine. I'd waited this long. I could wait a little more. I closed my laptop. Grabbed my refreshed LinkedIn like I was flipping tarot cards. Todd's profile was the same. Still Director of Ops. Still humble bragging in third person about strategic efficiency wins. But I knew he was preparing something bigger. I imagined his little PowerPoint deck, full of my slides, my graphs, my words, and his name at the bottom in bold Arial, like a liar's signature. He had no idea that his promotion pitch now came with an attached case file. I checked my email, nothing. Then I opened Blind, the anonymous work gossip app, and searched our company tag. No tea yet. Just grumbling about Q4 forecasts and a meme about the new snack policy. So I waited and watched. The silence wasn't frustrating. It was delicious. Because silence means gears are turning. Eyes are narrowing. Calendars are shifting. Somewhere, Marcus Bell had opened that folder. Somewhere, Todd's name was now dragging a trail of metadata behind it. And I wasn't screaming. I was sharpening. It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon, one of those days where even the sky looks hungover, when my phone lit up with a text from Rachel. Weird, Todd's office is being cleared. No announcement, no goodbye, just gone. I reread it twice like the words might morph into something else. My pulse hitched. That electric, full-body jolt, like touching a doorknob in winter. Kind of thrill you get when a slot machine hesitates just before it spits coins. I sat down slowly on the edge of my couch, rain tapping against the window like a countdown. I tapped back. Like, cleared out, cleared out? She replied almost instantly. Yeah. Office manager came in with a box. Said she was told to reset the space. His nameplate's gone. All his plants. Even the stupid mug that said, I make sh*t happen. My mouth actually dropped open. That mug had been Todd's pride and joy. He'd once said it was a personal brand. I opened our company Slack, not that I had access anymore, but the public pages were still visible on the company portal. Nothing. No farewell Todd thread. No announcement. No HR memo gently rewriting the truth. Just absence. The kind of absence that made people lower their voices and check who's around before talking. I jumped to LinkedIn. Todd's profile was still live. Still claiming he was with the company. No change in job title. No new post bragging about a new chapter. Just stale air. Then I opened Blind. Scrolled the tag for our company. That's where I found it. Thread title, anyone know what happened to Director of Ops? Office got cleared today. Eyes, replies came fast. Heard it was internal. Like bad internal. Someone mentioned CFO's name and ethics board in the same sentence. Anyone else? HR's tight-lipped. Just said he's no longer with the organization. That's never a good sign, lol. VP dreams, crushed. I guess I scrolled, eyes scanning for my name. There was none, and that made it better. Because silence was my design. Todd could vanish like a magician's assistant and no one would know I'd built the trapdoor. No dramatic whistleblowing, no scandalous exposé, just a trail of receipts leading to a quiet execution. I leaned back and closed my eyes, listening to the rain pick up outside. He didn't get his big send-off. He didn't get a LinkedIn flood of, congrats on the next chapter. He got boxed up and deleted before lunch. There was no announcement because shame rarely travels with a press release. And in that vacuum, that whisper of vanishing, I found my breath again. The email came on a Friday morning, sandwiched between spam about cat vitamins and a poorly written newsletter from my apartment complex titled, We're Grateful for You, and prompt rent payments. I almost missed it. Subject, opportunity to connect. It was from someone named Alyssa, an internal recruiter I didn't recognize. Polite tone, crisp wording, the kind of message that gets CC'd to legal if it goes sideways. Hi, my name, finds you well. CFO Marcus Bell has asked if you might be open to a short conversation regarding your recent contributions and some upcoming structural changes within the operations division. Please let me know if you're available early next week for a brief call. Best, Alyssa M., Internal Talent Acquisition. I read it once, then again. Not, would you like to apply? Not, interview for a role. No. Marcus Bell wants to speak with you. For the first time in weeks, I allowed myself a grin. Small. Private. The kind you give yourself in the mirror when the long game starts to pay off. I waited 2 days before replying. Not because I was playing games, but because I could. I replied Sunday night, just late enough to seem like I wasn't staring at my inbox, but still within the polite zone of engagement. The call was Tuesday morning. Zoom. No video, just voices. Marcus was direct. No fluff. I reviewed the materials you sent, he said. You could have gone public. You didn't. No reason to, I replied. I just wanted the work to be recognized by the right person. There was a pause. The good kind. We're making changes, he said. We need people who don't just find inefficiencies but have the spine to do what you did. Quiet accountability. That's rare. Then came the offer, lead analyst, special projects. Essentially my old job but 3 rungs higher. The dotted line report to Marcus himself. Full oversight of the vendor implementation teams. More pay. More visibility. Fewer layers between me and the decisions that actually mattered. Think of it, Marcus said, as a clean slate. For all of us. I thanked him. Then I said the words that sealed it, I'd like to consider it. I'll get back to you by week's end. Another pause. Fair enough. The call ended. I stared at my screen, still logged in. Notifications pinged quietly in the background. But I didn't click anything. I just sat there. Steady. I didn't leap up. Didn't pop champagne. Didn't post a vague, exciting things ahead status. No. This time I moved with poise. Let them wait. Let him wait. Because if there's anything I'd learned, it's that power is silent until it decides to speak. I accepted the offer on a Thursday. But not before sending one last email. Subject, formal acceptance plus documentation credit. Requesting it. I thanked Marcus for the opportunity, confirmed my start date, and laid out a single condition in one clean, unfussy sentence. I would like full documentation credit for the original Tri-Globe vendor optimization proposal, my name listed on all internal and public-facing reports where the initiative is referenced, including the upcoming annual report. I didn't over-explain. Didn't pad the request. Just planted the flag. Marcus replied within the hour. That's more than fair. Welcome aboard. No HR delay. No legalese shuffle. Just acknowledgement. And that, after everything, meant more than the paycheck. I started the following Monday. The office was quieter now. No more Todd strutting around like he invented Excel. His old office was still empty, blinds drawn. The ghost of his ego lingering like expired cologne. I knew my workspace was on the executive floor, not a corner office, but one with a window and a view of the skyline. I unpacked slowly, setting up with the precision of someone who knows they've earned every square inch. And then, in the bottom drawer, I slid in a printed copy of the PR release that dropped later that week. The headline read, "Efficiency through Integrity. How our ops team saved over $100,000 in vendor costs." Right beneath it, bold initiative led by, my name, lead analyst, special projects. No Todd. No footnote. Just facts. The article made the rounds on LinkedIn. A few old coworkers sent congrats. Rachel called me and said, "They're buzzing downstairs. Nobody knows how you pulled it off." I just told her, good work documents itself. Eventually. And then, last touch, I taped a sticky note inside my bottom drawer. It read, "Big fish don't notice minnows. Todd, Q2 sync-up meeting." I looked at it every morning that week. Not for revenge. For measurement. Because now I knew what it cost to be quiet. What it cost to be erased. And now, that cost was finally accounted for in full. Thanks for watching, you cubicle warriors. Hit that subscribe button. Unless you're my old boss. Then you're on your own. Revenge of the coffee pot strikes.